Today, I'm going to show you how to make a natural sounding voice AI agent using Vapi and Make.com. These are the types of agents that businesses, particularly small businesses, are already implementing and paying thousands of dollars to include into their current practices. The best part about it is that you don't need to be a developer. You don't need a crazy tech stack, and you don't need to be a whiz at coding in order to make this happen. So by the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to make a voice AI agent that sounds natural, how you can connect it to real business workflows, and how you can handle customer conversations naturally. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and grab your notepad and we'll go ahead and get started. So although there are many different types of voice agents that you're able to create in different types of software out there, the arguably one of the most commonly used ones is Vapi. It's the one that I personally love to use and what my clients have enjoyed being able to take advantage of. So we'll be using Vapi for the future tutorial here. Going into it, when you put in vapi.ai, you're going to want to either sign up or you're going to want to sign up, and then you're going to want to open your dashboard. Since I already have an account, I'll just log directly into my account for this purpose. And once you log in, sign up, the nice thing with Vapi is that you get $10 in credits immediately. So you can see here, this is where your credits come in. If you use my referral link below, you'll be able to get a discount on your Vapi credits and get a little bit more when you first start. So going into it, we're just going to look directly into our little sidebar here. Going straight into the overview here, this is essentially just going to be your metrics on how many calls you're going and having on a monthly basis. You can obviously just look for it in a broader sense here. But the main aspect that we're really going to be using is this assistance tool here, and this is really what it's going to look like. So going straight into it, we'll just create an assistant from scratch. And this is what it's going to look like when you open up a new template. We'll just call this a test assistant and just start with a blank template. But you can always obviously just choose here from this quick start menu of different types of assistants that you can work with. For now, just for learning's sake, we're going to go with our blank template and create a new assistant here. So really, we're just going to go into the settings of what everything is here. Your model is going to actually be able to determine what your assistant is going to sound like on a regular basis, right? You can choose between many different providers. I use OpenAI because that's what I know best, but of course you could choose from a variety of different providers. The model that you typically want to go for, you can choose between different types of GPT models. What I have found through my testing is that the GPT-4o, although not necessarily the quickest and cheapest, that's actually not like mini cluster. It typically has really good problem-solving mechanics should a call ever be a little bit more atypical. So we'll be going with the 4o cluster in this case. First message mode is going to be whether you're waiting for someone to respond first when giving a call or if the assistant is going to speak first. I always like to do assistant speaking first, and essentially the first message can just be, "Hi, this is we'll say Brooke from Special Events. How can I help you today?" Now, the system prompt is going to behave very similar to what you would want to use in ChatGPT, right? It's essentially going to create the determinant of how the conversation is going to flow. In the context, in the case of this tutorial, we are going to go off of an appointment scheduling assistant. So just for now, for the changes I made, I'm going to go ahead and up here and click publish. It's essentially the save. So I'll just go ahead and click next here and just go ahead and publish. So now it's technically live, it works. Essentially what I have here is a prompt that I have already pre-prepared just to keep generic. It's going to be for a pet grooming business. I'll paste it in here, and we'll go over what the prompt looks like. Now we'll call the company Great Care Pet Grooming. So you kind of see here, this is the prompt. You'll notice that we have these hashtags for any new parts of conversation. That just helps the AI clarify the different subject lines. So starting off here, it's essentially creating an identity for the AI. Essentially, we'll take that information and create that identity, right? So we'll help easily book, reschedule, cancel. The tone and behavior is what it's going to sound like. So it's friendly, confident, and genuine, and give some breathing room for people to speak. Use some natural pacing and filler words like on. Then essentially we'll have the conversation flow, give an introduction of who the person is. In this case, for consistency's sake, we want to make sure the name stays the same here. So we'll remove Sarah. That just helps from not confusing. It helps not confuse the AI. And it's essentially just going to collect the following information from the client and continue on this way. Now, the other very important aspect with Vapi is to make sure that the current time is set correctly. Now, this is essentially a code that is going to help the AI determine what the current day is, and whenever someone asks that if they'd like to book for another day, it knows that it's booking based off of your current day. So today is November 7th, 2025. This code will help Vapi understand that. It's different from typically what you might get from ChatGPT or Perplexity. They have a different coding understanding of what the current day is. You kind of have to build this into the back end in order for that to work correctly. It's a little bit of a pain, and sometimes it can change based off of updates that Vapi has had from my experience. But as of right now and as of today, what has worked for me consistently is this date code. If for any reason it ever changes, or if there's ever any issues, you can always go up to this document, this docs button here, and it'll open up your quick start Vapi guide. This documentation is actually super helpful and can help you troubleshoot any issues that you might have. Now, and then finally we have some specifications, just some basic general things that you could use to help clarify the AI prompt. Now, I'll have this posted in the description, so if you would like to just take this directly and build off of it and throw it into your own LLM to manipulate and make more specific to you, you can go ahead and do that. So what I always like to do is whenever you're doing something that you're starting with, you always want to test it and see what it's sounding like. So we'll go ahead and click this publish button, which will help us actually essentially save the information. And then if you ever want to test it, you can go ahead and click to this talk to assistant button. So we'll take a second, connect here.
Hi, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
Hi, Brooke. I was just looking to book an appointment.
Great, I'd be happy to help with that. Are you looking for a full groom or just a bath for your pup?
So it looks like it's working correctly, which is good. Now, you notice that the AI assistant's voice is male. I typically just like to work with female voices, and you can change that very simply down here. No, actually, going over it real quick before going there, we'll look into the files. Files is just for any extra context that you want this AI assistant to go off of. So let's say if you want it to be able to understand a knowledge base of the services that the company provides, you can essentially throw it into a file and throw it in here. Now, remember, if you have any files, it's going to slow down. Your assistant has to look into the files, and it could slow it down a little bit. You don't want to make the files too heavy. It would actually be better to put it in a .txt file over a Word file or PDF, just because it makes it less bulky. The max tokens is essentially how many tokens the AI is going to use in order to complete a sentence flow. So it will always, if there's ever any questions, it will always stay within a 250 count. 250 has typically been what I like to work with, and I've never had any issues with 250. So you can mess around with that if you wish. Then the temperature is the randomness of how the AI is going to sound and with the output that it's going to give. So you can kind of see here the randomness of the output. The lower, the more exact is going to be based off of the prompt settings that you set it up. The higher you put it, it's going to be more random. And going into the voice configuration here, this is really where you're going to be able to test between the different voices that you have. You have many different providers, including 11 Labs, Cartesia, Azure, a lot of different providers that you're able to use. I have found that Vapi has some pretty good ones, but in particular, the one that sounds the most realistic and to me, and you can even see it because the bottom here is the voice type. I am a big fan of Kylie. I think she sounds the most realistic and of all of them. So I'll just go ahead and publish that so that you guys can hear what Kylie sounds like. And we'll test that out before going and continuing forward.
Hi, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
Hey, Brooke, I was looking to book an appointment.
Wonderful. I'd be happy to help you with that. Just a quick heads up since it's after.
Cool. All right. So that's what it sounds like. Sounds very clear, as you can hear. Additional configuration, you can essentially add some background sounds, which I think is cool if you're trying to work from more of an office setting, or if you are working with pet grooming or nail salons, whatever, you can have essentially background sounds and background chatter. Keep in mind, if you want to do that, you can have just like there's an office one. If you want to add a custom one, keep in mind that you do have to have a website link that ends in a .mp3. There are websites out there that can help you convert your audio files into .mp3 websites. So you can just go ahead and look at that. We can go over that. We'll go over that in a future tutorial. Transcriber essentially just helps transcribe the call. So I found DeepGram works just fine, but if you choose to use another one of your preference, you can go ahead and do that. Tools, we'll go a little bit more into detail here, but essentially tools is really where the power of this appointment schedule is going to come into play. You'll see I already have a couple other tools that have already been set up. It's essentially where your information from webhooks in make.com are going to be sourced into. We'll go into that a little bit more detail in a second, but this is really where the power of the assistant is really going to come in. Any predefined functions, I like to use this to throw in a forwarding phone number if anyone ever asks for my clients by name. I like to throw in my client's phone number just so that they can handle any other questions that might need more detail or if they wish to speak to that person personally. Custom functions, haven't really been needing to use it too much. It essentially just helps you with your assistant capabilities. You can write in more unique code or throw in other tools you can see like here. I'm going to be going over what I think is most useful in terms of tooling and functionalities in this assistant tab. So you can always mess around with whatever it is that you think is useful. Start speaking plan I think is also useful because it will help give a little bit of a delay between when someone is speaking and when the AI starts speaking. So I typically like to leave that at a little bit higher of an interval because sometimes it can interrupt a little bit more and there's a little bit of interruption back and forth. Everything else I typically keep the same, but that's out of preference at the end of the day. Same thing, we'll stop speaking, decide when to do that. And messaging is going to be useful. We'll go more into detail here when we're setting up our tools. This is essentially going to help you create a final call summary and help you update that into what we will use as Airtable. This is the tools menu. This is really where you're going to get to be able to do that linking to make.com to actually take down any sort of appointments that you're going to want to take within this appointment setter voice AI, right? So just jumping straight into it, what we'll do is we'll create a new tool. Now you'll see you have several different options here, including making API requests, ending calls, transferring calls, more integrations through MCPs, Slack, Google Calendar, and Google Sheets. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm not going to use Google Calendar specifically. I'll show you how to do it with this custom tool function because it will help you understand how tools work, and if you wish, you can play around with the other functionalities of the tools. But for now, we'll go ahead and do a custom tool. You're gonna go ahead and click custom tool here. You can change the tool name. We'll call this we'll call this get calendar info. Now this will be the tool that is going to essentially refer to the calendar to see if there's any availability for the given day that the person that is calling is looking to schedule for. Now, the important thing that you want to look for when it comes to the description is making sure that whatever information the AI is taking in is going to format it correctly. And what's important with the description is that everything that when it comes to dating is in the same time zone. So I'm going to go ahead and take this information from one that I know already works. And you can see here that it's important to keep the formatting in ISO 8601 format. That's just for the sake of having that linkage happening with Google work correctly. Time zone can always be set to whatever it is that you wish to set it at. So now this next part of the video, we are going to go over how we can actually link make.com to Vapi. And all of that is usually done through webhooks. So if you don't have a make.com account already, you should go ahead and do that. It's a free platform for really the context of how much we need to use it. So if you start getting more clients and start actually making money off of these voice AI systems that you build, then you can look into bigger programs. This isn't going to be a make.com tutorial. This is only going to be going over how we would make a webhook connection with Vapi. So going straight into it, if you go into your little sidebar here, click on scenarios, you want to create a new scenario. And as Make does that, the very first app that you want to create is going to be this webhook app. And the first trigger that you want to trigger is this custom webhook. Now, what does that mean exactly? A trigger is essentially going to be the starting input of any automation build, right? This is going to be connected with Vapi, and that trigger is going to be based off of when Vapi decides to activate the tool that you set up here. So we're going to go ahead and create a new webhook. Let's just call it My Care, or Great Care Pet Care. That's the name that we decided to go with. And we'll go ahead and save that. Now you'll see that as soon as you created a webhook, you're going to have this website, this link that the webhook created. You're going to want to copy this address to your clipboard, save that, go into your Vapi dashboard, and with that tool that we just recently made, we're going to go ahead and go into the server settings, server URL, and go ahead and paste that webhook directly in here. By saving it, now your webhook on make.com is linked to Vapi, and whenever you click run and the tool is activated, then it will actually go through and take all the information, right? The next thing that we're going to want to be building here is actually giving the tool that we created specific parameters that we want it to pick up through the conversation. So what you can do is by clicking add property, you can start listing the parameters that you want it to pick up. So in the case of a pet grooming business, we're going to want to obviously pick up the dog name and just pick up the description, the name of the dog getting an appointment. And we'll do one other one just for the sake here. Well, we're going to actually do two other ones because we want to be keeping track of the date and the time, right? So the date, so date of the requested appointment, and the time requested for the appointment. And so now what's going to happen is Vapi, when the voice AI is actually talking to the client, it's going to ask, well, you have to ask within the prompt, which we already have, to pick up that information. So, and when that information is given, then it will launch the tool to actually pick that up. So you'll see here, we want to collect the following. We just started with dog's name. We'll go ahead and just, for the sake of the example here, we'll go ahead and delete all of the other things that we're asking for. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll see here. So it's going to pick up the date and the time, and then it's going to collect the dog's name. So those are just the 3 that we're going to go with for now. Obviously, you want to be able to customize that to your client's needs. So if we go ahead and check whether or not this webhook is working, let's just go ahead and do a quick test run to make sure that that is working. So let's go into our test assistant here. What we're going to do is scroll down and go into your, your tools, and select the new tool that we created, which would be get calendar info, right? Now we're going to publish it. And once that's published, now the tool is going to activate and go off of the tool that we just created. All right, so we'll go ahead and test it. So far, make sure that this is working correctly.
Hey, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
Hi, I was looking to book an appointment for my dog.
Awesome. I'd love to help with that. Just a heads up, since this is after hours, we'll confirm your booking first thing tomorrow. If your time works, we'll confirm automatically. If not, we'll call to adjust. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. What date and time work best for you? And what type of service are you looking to book, a full groom or just a bath?
I was going to do a full groom on November 9th at 10 o'clock a.m. for my dog, Sparky.
I've noted your request for a full groom for Sparky on Thursday.
Great. So now we can see that that webhook went through, and you can see here that that was completely corrected. And now we can see this
Hi,
message. Oh,
this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming.
sorry, Brooke. We are good. So we'll see now that this output bundle that we've created, now that we see that the webhook is linked, is we click into tool calls and go into your function arguments. You're going to see that it collected the information that we were looking for, right? And that's exactly what we want to be able to reference. Now, if you're familiar with Make, you'll know that it's very modular. So as we start building more applications and connecting things, we'll be able to see the flow of this output pretty simply. After this webhook, the next step that we're going to want to do is get this Google Calendar free busy information node. In order to do that, you would just click adding a module, go to Google Calendar, scroll down, and click on the get free/busy information node. Meantime, we'll delete this. I have already imported this free busy information node from another project where I already have this built out here. And essentially, what you're going to want to put in here is there's going to be a time range. You're going to have a formula here that you want to set up, just so that it can cover the time range of the day for the requested time. So essentially, you're just going to set this up and write set hour, and then you're going to put in the current function argument that you want, which is going to be your arguments. Just put in the full thing, which is going to be your date and time. Well, let's just put in the date as well here. We'll remove the other two. And then you're just going to do the same thing for this side. You're just going to put in the date here. Essentially what this function is doing, and you got to remember that you always want to close it off. What this function is doing is it's going to set the hour of the day from the very beginning of the day, and by setting it to 0. And then the same thing is essentially setting up here, except that you're doing this for, again, the hour and then the full day. And that's why that's 1. So always keep in mind, and this is a big thing that I kept running into when I first started, is your semicolons and your parentheses are super important within these formulas. So always keep in mind that. And what we're doing is we're going to be looking at my calendar in order to do that. Now, how is it referencing my calendar? You need to make a Google connection. It's pretty simple to set up. If you were to just click add, you can call whatever connection. You literally just sign in with your Google account or whatever Google account your client is using. It's pretty straightforward, but if you ever have any questions on how to do that, you can just go directly to the online help. We're not going to go into it in this video. It's couple steps, but it's fairly straightforward as long as you follow along with these instructions. So now we'll have that. If I want to be able to test it, rather than going back to Vapi to test whether or not the webhooks came in clearly every time, I'm going to go ahead and run it by using existing data. So if you click this little drop down, you click the scenario, we can see that this was the scenario that we ran before. We'll go ahead and click that, click run once, and we'll see that, make sure that that works, and it looks like that pulled the information correctly. We can see that we had initially asked for the tools in the arguments here, which was November 9th. We can see now that it pulled it in from November 9th to the full day all the way to November 10th, right at the end of the day there. That's exactly what we're looking for here. The next step is we're going to want to make this legible for ChatGPT. We're going to want to make this data availability legible for ChatGPT, right? And I'll go ahead and bring in this JSON node that I already have developed, and I'll break it down and explain what exactly it's doing. So essentially what we're doing is JSON. If you're not familiar with what that is it's a legible formatting, a computer formatting for a lot of really automation style work. What this is going to do is right now this Google Calendar information isn't really legible for ChatGPT to analyze and see whether or not someone is busy, right? So essentially what we're going to want to do is include that and put it into a formatting where ChatGPT could pick it up. So we're going to go ahead and put in the result here. Or excuse me, we're going to want to go ahead and put in the busy information here. That is my bad. So essentially what we're doing by putting in your calendar information as busy, it's going to take for the full day the availability, right? And from there, now it's going to take this into a readable format. We're going to go ahead and test that again. Again, I like to test everything step by step, module by module, making sure that everything is working correctly and it's giving the output that we want. So if we go in here, check the result that we got. Here is the input. Oh, looks like we have an empty input and an empty JSON string. So let's see what's going on here. We have it set up here already. Sorry, went to step away for a second there, but what we're going to do here is originally the JSON wasn't showing anything as busy, and that's just because for the day that we scheduled there wasn't any busy information. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and run once here, double check to make sure that everything is good there, and now we can see, since there is a busy time slot there, that it is working correctly. And we can see here that the Google Calendar busy schedule is pulling a time that is unavailable. So that's all working correctly there. The next step that we want to do after taking this JSON string and creating, now you'll see here the formatting of how this data came through. Essentially, this is that ISO 8601 formatting that we were talking about earlier. And that's why it's so important for the tool to be able to be configured correctly for the Vapi voice AI agent to help, because everything is going to stay that way. So next step is we're going to add a ChatGPT module. I'm going to bring it in from a tool that I already have so that we don't need to rebuild it here all the way. So you're going to pull up this new ChatGPT module here, and essentially you're going to set it up as you wish. I'm currently going with O4 Mini. It's the cheapest, lightest model to go for, and given the context of what this automation is doing, it doesn't really need anything more complex. Same thing up here with a connection. You're going to add your connection, and you're going to want to add some OpenAI credits, include your API key, and so on and so forth. Again, you can go and see how to do that with your online help. I'll cover that, make that connections in another video. But going forward, we're going to go into this messages icon. You guys will probably see it as something empty for the first time, but essentially the way that it works is you always have for each message you have to give ChatGPT a role, and which is a little bit different from what people are used to in the general use ChatGPT. Essentially, each one of these roles are different. In this case, we're going to start with developer system. Developer system is essentially what role do you want this model to take. So very simple, where you are a helpful, intelligent appointment booking assistant. The second role that it's going to take on is it's going to take on the user role. And that's when we're actually going to lay out the task at hand, which is going to be taking the input of the list of busy times that we pulled from here and return as an output string of free times. Then you will also explain what your hours of operations will be. We will ask to receive the busy times as JSON. This JSON will include the time in Zulu time noted by Z, which again is just that 8601 format that we were looking at. Do not return anything but the JSON string. Return free times using this format. And so afterwards, ChatGPT will spit this out. And we'll go ahead and use natural language. So we'll save that and go straight into running this again. So we'll see this whole flow going. Let's see what's going on with the module out. Yep, we have to reference the information to the currents JSON. So forgot that it include also message 3. We also created another user. The busy information is going to come from here. So, or excuse me, from here. So essentially what it's basically doing is we want this text content to be in this formatting, this JSON busy information, and then it's going to pull the dates that we pulled here. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. ChatGPT is doing its thing. Let that finish completing. And we got our results. So now it makes it available free between 8 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and between 10:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. So that's why you want to put in the current office hours, because you want to be able to say what days are free. And finally, you are going to want to end this with a webhook that closes the loop, which is a webhook response. Now, I'm going to pull this from the one I already have because it's formatted in a way that we want to do it. And we will put that in here, connect it. Essentially, the way that we're going off of is this is going to be a body format. Now, what this last webhook is doing is essentially sending the information back to Vapi during the live call to make sure that and explain what days and times are available to the client. And the easiest way to be able for Vapi to read this is by putting this in JSON format. Essentially what we're doing is taking the tool call ID, so the ID from the Vapi call that's currently happening. It's going to send this message to that chat ID that will be live in that moment. And the result will just be the availability string that we pulled from ChatGPT here. And that essentially closes the loop. So you can see that everything will be running correctly if we were to test this out. So ChatGPT is again going to take the available time, make sure that's good, format it in a way that we want, and then we got that webhook response correct here. So again, when we do something, we want to test it, make sure that it's running correctly. So we'll go ahead and talk to the assistant again, see when there is availability, see if they have availability on that time.
Hi, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
Hey Brooke, I was looking to schedule an appointment for my dog Chase for 9:30 a.m. on November 9th. Would that be possible?
Awesome. I'd love to help schedule that for Chase. Just a quick heads up. Since it's outside our regular hours right now,
Yeah,
we'll
that's fine.
confirm your booking. It looks like we don't have availability at 9:30 a.m., but we could book Chase for 8:30 a.m. or anytime after 10:30 a.m. Would either of those?
So looks like it is correctly picking up that busy slot. So essentially the way that it would work is you can see that it correctly and successfully launched the tool what you would want what it would do in real time with your customer is actually take it the next step further and loop back, pick up that tool again, and find a correct time or an available time based off of what the customer provides. So looks like we have that working correctly. The next step would actually be to create a second tool to find out the availability of the booking availability. The final piece of this puzzle is to basically link everything together and to create a calendar booking for the request date. So we're essentially going to create another tool in order to have the Vapi Voice AI agent have that capability. So we're going to go ahead and click Create Tool, Custom Tool. Same thing as before. Now we're going to do Book, Calendar, Appointments, Tool, Books, Calendar, Appointments. And you know what? I will also take a prior one just so that we can keep things consistent. And just mentioning that ISO 8601 format again for appointment booking, time zone, all that good stuff. So this booking tool is going to behave the same way. We're going to grab a make.com server URL. And what I'm going to do actually, just for the sake of time here, is I'm going to add parameters that I already have, just for the sake of not repeating. So you can see in this tool I created a lot more parameters. You really can just add as many as you want. The ones with the asterisk, the red asterisk, are just the ones that are required in order for the tool to run properly. What I'm going to do here is you can actually switch from the visual editor. You can switch it to JSON format. You can see it'll give you the JSON format. And so what I'm going to do is copy all this, go into what we have existing, switch into this JSON, and just for the sake of example here, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. What we have here, proper names start with a letter or underscore and only contain letters here. So I see. So it looks like we have a couple that need like underscores and stuff like that. I'll go ahead and do that and then continue. All right, I was able to fix that up. All I really just added was some underscores rather than spaces for everything that had more than one word in it. We switch back to the visual editor, we'll see that everything was put in correctly here. So same thing with what we did last time. We're gonna go ahead and add a new scenario, add a new webhook, create a custom webhook, create a new webhook, booking webhook, and then once again copy that address to the clipboard and paste that in there. Go ahead and save, and now we have another tool that's working. Now in order to link it, we're going to do the same thing again that we did before. Go down to tools in the assistance tab. For we have get calendar info, add book calendar appointments. So now this tool is going to use both tools here, and so we'll just make sure that the prompt is adding that and doing that correctly. So book appointment, we'll see record all info and launch the booking appointments. Is that what we called it? Book calendar appointments, excuse me. Fix that. Book calendar appointments tool. Cool. So we'll see that that has that set up for the booking. And we'll copy this. Make sure everything is correct here. Cool. All good. You see that I shortened the conversation flow just because we're doing a booking example here. This is a big thing that I think is important when it comes to using Vapi is you want to keep your assistant prompt as brief as possible. The more detail that you add, although it might be important, it can slow down the system a little bit and sometimes even confuse it and start losing the context protocol that it might have. So as the calls lengthen, might cause a little bit of an issue. So the shorter and the more brief, the better. I used to have create prompts that would be several tokens, and again, it's based off of tokens length. So I had prompts that were several thousand tokens worth. Now I've actually shortened this down to right around 900 tokens. This one is even less than that. So the shorter the better. Just try to be as succinct as possible. The AI can usually fill in the blanks there. So we'll go ahead and update that. Also want to make sure that they are correctly launching the Get Calendar tool. We called this, that's what we called it, right? Get Calendar info. And it should just do that automatically. I'm going to delete this after hours notice because it's not necessarily useful. We'll go ahead and also say with response what date and time work best for you, and then say launch the get their info tool to see if there is availability. And now it should work. So we'll go ahead and test this, publish, skip and publish. That should work there. And we'll go ahead and talk to Assistant.
Hi, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
I was looking to book an appointment for my dog, Chase.
Great. Thanks. What service are you looking to book for Chase? Is it a full groom or a bath?
Could we do a full groom, please?
Got it. A full groom for Chase. What date and time work best for you? We have openings from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Could we do November 9th at 12 p.m.?
It looks like 12 p.m. isn't available on November 9th, but we can offer a spot between 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. that day. How does 10:30 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. sound?
11:30 a.m. should work.
Great. Here are the details I have for Chase's appointment. Service, full groom, date, November 9th, time 11:30 a.m. Could you please provide Chase's breed and weight, as well as any health concerns you might want us to be aware of?
Yeah, could you, he is a German Shepherd, 65 pounds, no health concerns, no notes, really.
Thank you for providing the details. It seems like I couldn't finalize Chase's book.
Cool. So now we see that webhook came in when it wanted to launch the booking calendar appointments. Realizing now the reason it checked was because I had availability. This is for 2023, so should be able to work now. We have this that came in now. If we go to our tool calls list, we'll see that now we have these arguments set up. And so we should be able to go ahead and build from here. So that we have this webhook, we'll go ahead and go into our Google Calendar, create an event, and based off of the event that we want to go off of, we'll go ahead and put that directly in here. The event name, we'll name it just for the sake of argument, we'll just put in the name of the dog. And if you want, you can add attendees, but in the case of this, we'll just go ahead and include this. You can just do in detail or quickly. In detail is just going to give you a little bit more context in terms of what start date and the end date for what we're going to do. In this case, we do need the time. So we'll once again go ahead and put in the name, and no video conferencing needed. Start date will be this, and actually, you know what? We'll throw in the date time because we have that should work better there. So now that should work here. Now we'll go ahead and test it so far. Now that that's done, what's the error here? Missing end. So in the case of this, not necessarily that we have to add an end date, we can actually just add a duration. So we'll go ahead and put, should be 3 hours, I believe, is this format? Yes, format here. So hour, month. So we'll say that in this case, it's going to take 3 hours. Go ahead and save that. Make sure that that runs. Looks like it went through. Booked it for November 9th, 2023. Now we can see that it worked. Put that through. So finally, at the end, we have to close that webhook loop. Go ahead and use it from an example that I already have here. And go ahead and add that webhook response. Throw that into the body response. Again, go into that ID, making sure that that has been successfully booked. So now we should be good. I'm going to set this up real quick to make sure that we are referencing the correct tools here. So again, at the very end, we want to test and make sure that this works. So we will test it now.
Hi, this is Brooke from Great Care Pet Grooming. How can I help you today?
Hey Brooke, I'm looking to book an appointment for my dog Chase. He's a German Shepherd, right around 65 pounds. He's 3, and I'm looking to book for November 10th. Could we do it at 9 a.m.?
Got it. Just to clarify, you'd like me to book Chase, your German Shepherd, for a grooming appointment on Friday, November 10th at 9 a.m., correct?
Yes.
And what type of service would you like? A full groom, nail trim, or bath?
Could we do a full groom?
Absolutely. I'll just note you'd like a full groom for Chase on Friday, November 10th at 9 a.m. Hang tight while I check our availability for that date and time. Great news. Chase has been successfully booked for full groom on Friday, November 10th at 9 a.m. You'll get a confirmation soon. If there's anything else you need, don't hesitate.
And we can see now that that went through correctly here. And so that is all set. And our voice AI agent is now successfully running. Now, the next question would be, how do we actually apply this for a client? Well, if you actually go into this little tab here, you can go to phone numbers and you can create a new phone number. When you create a new phone number, you can give that phone number a label, and you can go ahead and copy this inbound phone number. You can choose which assistant you want to link it with, or workflow. And you can also create a fallback destination for inbound calls if the assistant isn't working for any reason. You can also do an outbound and kind of flip it. So really this fallback destination is just to, if someone requests for, let's say, the client or to speak to a human, you can just put in the phone number there. That would be the next best person to speak to. But that's more so a failsafe or a fallback, as it says. Now you would just take that number, give that number a call, and that would work that way. So if you watched the video all the way through, you should know how to make a voice AI agent now, whether you want to use it to sell to businesses or put it into your own current practices. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. I have a lot more content like this coming in the near future. So until then, hope you enjoyed and have a good one.